go through and we have a conversation, we ask a question, we don't repeat and we don't affirm, repeating and affirming allows us the opportunity to give them at least the impression that we are listening. When we don't repeat, we don't affirm, it sounds weird. It sounds like as if there were an interrogation. Why are you trying to sell your house? When are you trying to get there? What's the reason you're trying to make this move? Just boom, 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 boom. When we don't have the opportunity to go into the depthness of the repeating and the affirming, it makes that conversation a little bit weaker. What about the importance of empathy? Empathy with expires, especially. You got to remember, these people been on the market for 2, 3, 4, 6 months, and all of a sudden, bam, get 5, 10, 15, 20, 50, 100, 200 calls in that day. Now they're absolutely agitated. They're frustrated. They're annoyed. They're just kind of in this state where they are absolutely, overwhelmed. Okay. And all of a sudden, again, here we are calling them and, we're trying to sell them on, hey, use me, use me. Okay. So in that, we want to make sure that we do come across from an empathetic state. What about from a dialect or accent? Okay, a dialect or an accent is something that is important. Now, why dialect or accent is important? Just think of, like, for example, my background is of Mexican descent. What about our friends that are from, our Cuban friends, our Puerto Rican friends, our Dominican friends? What about our Asian friends? What about somebody from like Australia, as an example? There's not too many Australians, at least accent-wise, here in California. But just think of like that, for example. What about an English accent? Think of something from that perspective. Now, why is this important? The reason why this is important is that the more that we do mirror and match, the more we are in alignment with them. Okay, so the more we're in alignment with them. Personality type, driver, analytical, expressive, and amiable. I gave everybody homework. Did you get a chance to identify with what you are? Okay, what is your personality style? What are you? Are you a driver? Are you an analytical? Are you amiable? Or are you an expressive? Now, as far as that is concerned, what I want to make sure that you guys do understand is when you are talking to a certain personality style, you want to align yourself with that personality style. Again, a driver is going to be very direct, right to the point, not really a whole lot of nonsense type of a personality. So the last thing you want to do is bore them with details, and go through, have this entire pie chart or graphs and things of that nature. Those are things that you definitely don't want to bore the drivers with. In analytical, the opposite. You don't want to be too direct, brush over, and not be detailed. They do want the graphs. They do want, all the details. They want to know days on market. They want to know price per square foot. They want to know, the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, all of these things. That's what's going to help when it comes time to identifying that person's personality style. And expressive. Expressive is one of those people that you just ask them a question and they go through 5, 7, 8, 10 minutes later after they think that they responded to your question, and they didn't, and you have to ask them again. Okay, expressives, they are the life of the party. They're always the fun people. They're the people that are the center of attention. Doesn't make you wrong or right by being any certain personality style. It is what it is. That's just the way that God instilled that in us. Now, the fourth one is amiables. Amiables are going to be everybody's best friend. Okay, they are people that unfortunately they get their feelings hurt a little bit more often. You got to be careful with what you say around them because they just they can take things personal. Okay, so we do want to be careful with all of those different personality styles. Now, when you are calling, you are making you are having those conversations. You're knocking on the door and you're speaking to that person. Try to identify who you are speaking with. What personality style are you speaking with? And again, as I mentioned, when you are in assimilation with them, with all of the mirroring and matching, identifying their personality style, that's the doctrine when it comes time to prospecting. Okay. And why is it the doctrine? It's because think of, the last person that you met, or think of the last handful of people that you met. There's certain people that you just like got along with, boom, right away. No problem. No reservations, no hesitations. Oh my gosh. Did we just become best friends? And then there's other people, it's kind of like, man, I can't believe there's people like that, and there's so much friction. You don't necessarily get along with them. And the reason why that happens is because there's not as much in alignment. So what you want to do when you're going through, we are talking about expires, but with any other sources, any other presentations, buyer consultation, listing presentation, you want to be in a position where you are in alignment from a mirroring and matching standpoint, as well as a personality standpoint. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free. And again, we're finally back on. I do apologize about all of the technical challenges that we had this morning, but we're on, we're live. So again, for those of you that are joining us over on YouTube or on Instagram, over on Facebook, over on TikTok, I'm going to encourage you to come join us over here on Zoom. And if you can't, that's perfectly fine. Go ahead and ask your questions. I do have Lizette here as well, Andrew. So if you can go ahead and get those questions over to us if there are any. So anybody here on Zoom have any questions? Nope. All right, let's
No,
move on.
I do have a comment as far as like your personality types. I think it's a funner exercise as to whenever you're talking to somebody and you're like after the fact, because I know we do that sometimes too. We'll talk to someone and then we'll be like, what do you think they were? Just as personality types. So it's been something that we live through now.
Yeah.
And then we tailor our conversation based on how we are perceiving that person. So to be more strategic about it is to learn more and more about those individual types. I mean, there's only four, so it's really just about devoting time to really learn about them.
Yeah, and it is important, especially, like let's use an example, Lizette, here with our last listing presentation. So we had one that was a driver, which was the wife, and then we had the husband that was an analytical. Now, why it's important is because that's kind of a tough balance. And the reason why it's a tough balance is because with the driver, you don't want to bore them to death with all of the facts and the figures because we could lose them. But at the same point in time, we have to appease the husband that isn't analytical because he doesn't want to feel like brushed over. So creating that fine line of a balance of that oil and water, which the irony of it, it's a divorce situation. So not laughing at the divorce situation, just laughing in regards to just that's perfect example where unfortunately there is that friction that doesn't get along. Now, with the husband, identifying some of the things, as to with um, what is it that he was wanting? And the way that we identified that was because he was asking questions along the line of the commissions. He was asking along the line of, what are we going to do? All of these things from an analytical standpoint, where the wife was just kind of like, just get this thing over with and let's make this thing happen. So it always helps when you're able to identify who you are speaking with. So if I'm in a position where I'm speaking with an analytical and I'm speaking with as an example an expressive, and I'm just being very short, right to the point, I'm not going to get along with them. So we want to be able to identify what are the different personality styles, because when I speak to the husband, I'm going to speak a little bit analytical, and then when I speak to the wife, we want to make this short, quick, and easy, right? Yeah, perfect. So um great point. um Let's talk a little bit about the 2-2-5 method or the 5-5-10 method. What is this? Again, you guys are going out. I've asked of you guys to go out and knock on 2 doors a day. That's going to keep the creditors away. That's my cute little saying. And when you go out there, sometimes you're going to go to one property, and that's 10 minutes from the office, not a big deal. And then there's another property that's a little bit further away. That's another 10, 15 minutes. And by the time you get back, that's another 10, 15-minute drive. Just in the going back and forth, that could be about 45 minutes to an hour. You go to property number one, you knock on the door, nobody answers. You go to the next property, knock on the door, nobody answers. Then you come back to the office after an hour later, you're like, well, that was kind of a waste of time. Well, we don't want to be wasteful with our time. We want to be more effective and, for that matter, even more efficient. So when you do find yourself going after those targeted doors, instead of just doing the one door, the second door, coming back to the office, I want you to go to each door and use a 2-2-5 method or the 5-5-10 method. I go to property number one, knock on the door, nobody answers. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the 2 doors to the right, the 2 doors to the left, and then I'm going to go to the 5 doors across the street. What do I tell them? I'm going to knock on the door. Hi, my name is Robert. I'm a local realtor. And the reason I stopped by is your neighbor Bob was trying to get his home sold. We may have a potential buyer for his home. How do I get a hold of Bob? Okay, how do I get a hold of Bob? Now, a couple of things we could respond is, oh my gosh, yeah, Bob's been trying to get his home sold. Give him a call at this number. This is the best number to give him a call at. Why does the neighbor have the number? Well, because the last time Bob went on vacation, he said, hey, do me a favor. We're going to be going to Italy. We're going to be gone for about 2 weeks. Can you please keep an eye on my house? If you see anything funny, give me a call. So now the neighbor has that phone number. Now, why is this phone number important? Well, because in some cases, not always, okay, but in some cases, you go through, you use all of these great companies that are out there, Arch, Vulcan, RedX, Mojo, all these companies out there. Well, sometimes they don't have that phone number. Why don't they have that phone number? Because the phone number that the neighbor has is the company directed phone number that Bob uses, and he only uses it for emergency purposes, and nobody has it because it's registered to ABC Incorporated versus Bob Smith. So now I have the bat line. I have the back line phone number. So I can pick up the phone and now call Bob without all of this competition. Awesome. Or number two could be yeah, I don't know. I don't really talk to the guy. I'm kind of glad that he's leaving. Yeah, I don't know how to get a hold of him. I mean, I see him every once in a while, probably cordial, say the highs and the hellos and the goodbyes ever so often, but that's probably about it. What you're now going to do is you're going to turn it over on them. So this is what it's going to look like. Knock on the door. Hi, my name is Robert. I'm a local realtor. Reason I'm stopping by is because your neighbor Bob right over here was trying to get his property sold. I'm sure you know that. And well, unfortunately, he didn't. And we may have a potential buyer for his home. How do I get a hold of Bob? Oh, you don't talk to him? No problem. Hey, now that I'm here, again, I am a local realtor. How about yourself? When are you thinking about making a move? How long have you lived here? Where'd you move from? How'd you happen to pick this area? If you were to make a move, big if, where would you go to next? And you're going to do that with the neighbor to the right, the neighbor next door. And if you want to go all at it, 5, 5, and 10. You knock on 10 doors, you should pretty much get about 2 to 3 contacts. So if you go 2, 2, 5, you're probably going to have 2 or 3 conversations. Okay. And that's probably going to take you about 30 minutes. So that's a little bit more efficient at that point. And if you go 5, 5, 10, now you've knocked on 20 doors, there's a likelihood you're going to have 4 or 5 or 6 conversations. And if you go to 2 separate expireds and you do the exact same thing that I just mentioned, well, now you're going to have 10 or 12 conversations in the just simply the 2 doors. So this is why it is important that when you go and knock on the 2 doors I'm asking you to go after every single day, that you're not only making it effective, but you're also making it efficient. Hopefully that makes sense. Any questions, comments, concerns, anything from that direction? Nope, we're good? All right. Well, let's continue to move on. And if you have any questions, feel free to jump right on in. And then again, Lizette, if there's anything else that comes up, just let me know. All right. So let's talk about what do we take to the door? Yes, always. So what I want you to take to the door is going to be very simple. Okay. And I'm going to give you guys a gift today. How many of you guys want a gift? Cool. Awesome. So the gift that I'm going to give you guys is this. You go and knock on the door. You knock on Bob's door. But with Bob, he doesn't answer. So what do we do? What do we leave behind? Well, you don't have to overthink this. Okay, you don't have to overthink this. But what I want you to do is I want you to leave a flyer. And that flyer is going to be very, very, very simple. You're basically going to have 2 sides to a sheet. And on one side, doesn't matter, you pick a side. On one side, you're going to have just a very informal letter. Dear homeowner, unfortunately, home didn't sell, blah, 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 all this other stuff. Now, don't think too much about this. Throw it into chat. You feel free to write it out. But the gift that I want to give you is the version that I've used for a long time. And you're going to see when you get this, you're going to be like, what the heck? This is so basic. And that's okay. I have no problem with it because it gave me results. Okay. Now, going back to the actual flyer itself, that's the letter. Option number two, or sorry, side number two, not option number two. Side number two, you're going to put your plan of action. Here's what ends up happening. You're going to knock on the door. Mark my words. If you haven't done this before, it's going to happen. I'm going to knock on the door. Oh, somebody opened. Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob. My name is Robert. I'm a local realtor. Yeah, the reason I stopped by is I'm sure you've gotten tons of calls already by now, and I just wanted to stop by to see when you're planning to interview the right agent to get your home sold. What do I do to get a home sold? I'm so glad you asked. As a matter of fact, here's my 21-point plan of action. This is what I do to sell homes. I'd love the opportunity to share with you in detail with what it is that I do. Can we do this later on today at 3 o'clock? Or should I stop by at 5 o'clock? Or heck, I could do this now if you want to. I want to be able to give you the opportunity to be in a power position. That power position is going to put you right there so that you can set an appointment and take a listing. I kid you not, I've done this numerous times. Okay, I've gone out, went out. I want to say about 3 years ago, knocked on a door in Fontana, knocked on the door. Dude spoke Spanish, went through the entire script, and he goes, "You're a realtor?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, come on in. I want to show you with what it is that I'm trying to accomplish here. Can you help me sell this house?" Absolutely. 30 minutes later, signed contract, boom, listing taken. It happens. Okay. I want to give you basically that ability. And this is the ripest time in basically probably the last 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 years now for expireds. Because what you're doing is you're going off of the last 4, 5, 6 months of them being on the market that didn't sell. And now you're going into the spring market, which is a little bit better. I don't know about you guys if you're noticing that uptick, but there is an uptick in the market. And now you get the opportunity to be that hero. That's what I'm equipping you with. If you want a copy of this letter, just simply go to my website. Okay, option number one. Option number two, send me a DM via Instagram. And all I want you to do is just simply put expired letter. Don't give me any details. Don't do any other stuff. Just simply put expired letter and make sure that you get that. Okay, so we'll get that over to you guys. Any questions, comments, concerns? No? We're good? All right. So what I want to do is I want to get a little bit of role play in. So let me go ahead and pull up the script. Give me one quick second. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask away. And then Lizette, of course, if you have any insights, feel free to just jump in.
So, Robert, a quick question.
Sure.
If we cannot get a hold of them on day one, should we just go straight to their door? Or we should call several times and go there to their door the next day?
Yeah. So with that, what I want you to do is, as we talked a little bit about at the beginning of the month, there's two focal points that I want to make sure everybody is having. And the focal point, and number one is going to be the your top three zip codes. Okay. Now, your focal point number two is your top three cities. Now, how does this show up? Answering now your question. And what I want you to do is you're going to go through, you're going to call expired, you're going to call expired, you're going to call another expired, you're going to call another expired. Boom, all of a sudden, oh, that's a property in my top three zip codes. Print it, put it on your printer, have it at the ready. When you're done with your expireds, if you have 1, 2, 3, or 4, you pick 2, 3, or 4 properties. I'd rather you not go next day. I'd rather you go the exact same day. But when it's not expire day on the 1st or expire day junior on the 16th, finish your prospecting, go through and just simply, finish your prospecting. You go through, you call round one, round two, round three, you go call FISBOs, you do a little bit of lead follow-up, you call your database, you do some just listeds, and then you call round four of expired. It's now lunchtime. I'm hungry. Let me go grab a quick little sandwich over at Jersey Mike's. And on the way, oh, that's right. Robert told me to go and knock on these doors. That's when I want you to go and knock on the doors during that window. So you're going to take the 1, 2, 3, or 4 doors, and that's when you're going to go out and you're going to take with what I just mentioned, Ann. You're going to take that flyer, and with that, you're going to go use the 2, 2, 5 method, or again, of course, the 5, 5, 10. And that is when I want you to go out and knock on those doors. Okay? So I'd rather you do it that day versus the next day, because I can assure you, here's the cool thing about it. When we're knocking on doors, if you haven't knocked on an expired door, I would encourage you just for, shits and giggles. Go out there, knock on a door, pull up the expireds today, and here's what's going to happen. If you phone call them, and I'm not telling you not to, I'm encouraging to call them, but if you phone call them, here I'm now in Central Valley, there's probably going to be about 30, 40, 50, maybe 60 realtors that I would be competing with today on any of the local expireds. But if I go and knock on the door, how many people am I going to compete with? Maybe one, maybe two. So do I want to compete with one or two realtors, or would I rather compete with 50 or 60 realtors? So that's why I want you to go out and knock on those doors as quickly as you possibly can. Okay, so that was hopefully as thorough of a response that I could, Ann.
What is the best time frame to knock at the door?
Any, really any. I'll give you a couple of different approaches though. Here's what I would do. Okay. So, on a typical day, let's say for example, today I don't have an appointment. I go through, I start calling expires. I basically will start to print them. Oh, there we go. There's one. There's two. Ideally today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and knock on the doors when I go pick up my Jersey Mike sandwich or wherever you're going to go for lunch or for that matter during lunchtime. So that's what I would recommend to do it. However, let's say for example, I had an appointment today at 5 o'clock, listing appointment, buyer appointment, whatever it may be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the what I call is the sandwich method. What's the sandwich method? I have a 5 o'clock appointment. I'm not going to leave the office. I want to be as efficient in my office time as much as I can. But what I am going to do is I'm going to leave the office probably about 3 or maybe 3:30. And the reason I'm going to leave the office at 3 or 3:30, again, I have a 5 o'clock appointment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and knock on those doors 2 to 5 or the 5-5-10 method. And I'm going to go knock on those doors, including, of course, that expired. I'm going to then go to my listing appointment, or for that matter, buyer appointment. When I'm done with that appointment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to the exact same door. That's the sandwich method. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that same door. Of course, if they didn't answer, if they answered, I'm not going to go back. But if they didn't answer after my appointment, I'm going to go back and that's going to be the very last activity for the day. And I'm going to knock on the door because the first time I knocked on the door, it was probably 3:30, 3:45. They weren't there. Then when I come back after my appointment, it's now 6 o'clock, maybe 6:30. Now they got home. Okay. Now, why don't I just do that after? Well, I don't know everybody's schedule. Some people work from home. Some people have no problem with answering the door at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 12 o'clock, where other people that have an 8 to 5, and that's why I'm going to try them again. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. I just want to be as thorough as we possibly can. We did have some technical challenges this morning. So let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Lizette, any further or final thoughts?
Nope.
All right. So in that, I want to take a moment to invite everybody today, Dale Lofgren, that's going to be at 12:30. Okay. We're going to be going live. So I will encourage you to come and join us here. And basically what we're going to do is I get the opportunity to interview Mr. Dale Lofgren. And we're going to do that today, 12:30 Pacific Standard. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much the only announcement I have. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll see you guys on Thursday. We're going to finish off the expires. We're going to move over to another source next week. I'm finishing off next month's training calendar. The only thing I will say is this. I am doing a lot of speaking engagements now, which I am beyond grateful for those of you that I've had the good fortune of speaking at. If you can put yourself in a position, if you're in Southern California, if you can put in your office 20, 25 people minimum, okay, 20, 25 people. I'll be more than happy to set up a date and we'll come out and we will visit. I'll do a live in-person presentation for you and your brokerage. Now, if you can get 50 people, okay, I'm willing to travel a little bit further. Okay, I'm trying to get obviously as much of the MIT word out there as possible. How can you help me grow this audience? Basically, just invite them. Okay, invite them, share, let them know. Again, my ultimate goal is to get to at least 100 people here on the every single day. And we're gotten close. We've gotten into the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, but we just are missing that mark at 100. So I'm hoping I'm providing enough value to you guys so you guys continue to come back. And for those of you that have, thank you as always. If you guys want that free gift, just send me a DM over on Instagram and just simply put expired letter and we'll get it over to you. All right, everybody, let's have a powerful, productive day. Go take a listing or 5, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.